Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another adventure of the Ostentatious with me, your host, Austin Schock. Today, we are continuing our adventure through the basics of Dungeons and Dragons by talking about characters. What is a character? How do you make a character? And how do you use a character? To start out, all the information I'm going to be going over is gone over as well in far more depth in the player's handbook. Unfortunately, like I have said in previous videos, pretty sure most of this is copyrighted, if not all of it is copyrighted, so I cannot show those things in this video. Bear in mind, they are there, it's just a little bit more in-depth. First off, before we get to the fun graphics, what is a character? A character is your representation in the game. It is your player avatar, and for the most part, it can still live within the bounds of your imagination. In terms of how far you can imagine, that is what you can create. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, there are a few more rules surrounding characters than other aspects of the game, so we do have to be mindful of that when making our characters. Now, let's get over to the slideshow so that I can show you all the amazingness that is how we start our characters, which is most people start out with their species or race. Here we have three examples. We have the elf, we have the halfling, and we have the tiefling. These are just three of the many races. There are also humans, there are dwarves, some are things you have definitely heard of, some are things that you might not have ever heard of before. They all come with their own special abilities, their own stats, their own what have you. And you basically just find one that either looks really cool, or that you really want to try out, or that fits your idea of your character super well. Quite frankly, I would say starting out, there are no wrong answers. Eventually, you'll find which kind of character works best for you. Once you've done that, you have a decision to make, which is your class. This determines your skills and abilities that you get to use during the game. And I always start out by asking the basic question: would you rather focus on weapons, or would you rather focus on magic? Weapons tend to be a whole lot simpler for a variety of reasons that I'll get into when I go over combat. And they tend to deal a little bit more damage to individual foes. Magic, on the other hand, is a lot more complex. There are a lot more smaller numbers and things that you have to keep in your mind and keep track of, but clearly they make things go boom, and they can have other effects as well. When I talk about weapon classes, what I mean are those classes that mostly rely on using martial ability to do damage in combat, because that's where that distinction comes from, or who use their body to get things done outside of combat. So here we have some of the weapons options. So we have the barbarian. This is very much a go up to the door, don't open the door, smash the door, keep smashing until you fall off the edge of the earth. Over here we have the monk. This is a lot more technical, where it's a lot more numerous smaller hits that rack up damage over time and tend to have a lot more mobility than, say, a barbarian. And then a rogue. This can be an assassin. This could be a thief. As you can see, he's found his treasure. It just sort of depends on what you would like your rogue to do, so it's a little bit more of a utility end of things. Then we have the magic peeps, where we have our wizard here, who has access to lots of different magic spells, gets to really focus in, and is known for basically just being the embodiment of what it means to be magic. We have the cleric, who gets their powers from gods. There are gods and goddesses in D&D. You get to decide what they are and what they need. If that means that you want to use just real-world deities, perhaps the one that you particularly believe in, that's a-okay. If you would prefer to use, say, the pug-headed, lizard-bodied god Ahem, who is the deity of pears and YouTube videos, that's fine as well. I personally, as a DM, see that as great world building. Just know to check with your dungeon master as well for what they are comfortable with. And then the third example I have is the bard. They tend to be once more that more utility aspect of things, where they're just generally good at everything. Now, the question then comes, So we have our characters. We've chosen our species. We've chosen our class. We have everything we need. What can I do with my character? And the answer is anything within reason, so long as you can roll well enough. Some dungeon masters are a little bit more stingy about this than I am, but for me, the point of this game is player enjoyment. Players should enjoy what they're doing. It should be an experience that they're going to remember, that they're going to draw from. And so giving them more agency, giving them more options is what I see as a good thing in the game. And how exactly do you do anything? Well, you can either, here we have a page from my custom-made character sheets where you can do attacks or you can do skills. But if something doesn't line up with one of those things, you have other options that you can get from your species or your class, different points you can draw on, or you can just ask your dungeon master, hey, what I really, really, really want to do is jump up onto the roof, sprint down that hallway, dive through the window, swing off the chandelier, and land in the birthday cake. And all those things are completely okay, so long as you well enough. Those details will be gone over in the specific dice episode that I have planning. But overall, that is a character. It is, to summarize, your avatar. You create one by following the directions in the player's handbook by first choosing a species and reading through all those attributes and making sure you know what they are and how they affect you. Then choosing your class and once again reading through all those attributes and making sure that they are properly accounted for. There is a third option, which is background, which is completely optional of an option, and you'll get to choose whether or not to use it. It can give you a few extra perks. It can sort of help you develop your character's backstory, which is always good, but at the end of the day, it is your decision to choose. And then what do you use a character for? Well, pretty much whatever you feel you can get away with the luck of the die. This has been another adventure of the Ostentatious. I am Austin Shock. That was an episode on Dungeons and Dragons Characters Basics. If you liked it, tell your friends. If you hated it, tell your enemies. And if you don't care either way, tell everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and happy quarantine.